Yeah, and finding your voice is something all comics strive for. Is it when because 20 years in, and 12 years seriously, but like when did you think, or was there a certain bit to where you felt like you were starting to kind of open up a new realm of your comedy and into your voice?
Um, well, I feel like Twitter helped me out a whole bunch because it was really a place to put thoughts up and not care. Like at first I didn't even understand faves and retweets. So I was just putting all kinds of thoughts up on Twitter and not even in joke format, and then just realizing people had similar um situations like that. Then that made me realize, oh, this is probably something I could talk about. So something so niche or whatever, you're like, no, a lot of people know what you're talking about and you can do this. Sometimes on stage it won't hit, but there'll be an audience that likes it and they'll find you once you uh do that. uh but then I think I had one bit where I took the train and this guy was like, I don't know, the way he approached me was so weird. And then I treated it as if it was a real conversation. And I felt like when I did that on stage without doing a setup punchline and just doing bits as dialogue and being just telling the story through my point of view, I felt like that was the first time where I was like, I think now I get this. I know how to do this. And that was like a year in when I moved to New York. Or I
Mm.
felt more like there's a lot of times where I'm just like, oh, I think I get how to do this stand-up thing, and then I do a set and then I'm like, maybe you don't. But I felt like there is a time when you're like, oh, that is definitely, that's me. And I think I figured it my way of being me on stage without trying really hard, and it felt effortless. That's where that I had a joke like that, but I didn't do it in my set
But yeah,
or in the
being you.
album.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is a good note though of like you weren't going for setup punch. You were going for like, but what is Sarah's point of view here? And that really started to crack open that new writing.
Yeah, well, not that I would ever teach a class, but I think sometimes for classes, like, or just for comedy, I think a lot of comics, when you first start out, you're always thinking about, like, I need to write a joke. I need to write a joke. But honestly, like, haven't you ever had that guy at work or that friend that just tells you their story of what they did that morning and you're laughing hysterically because they're telling you what their problem solving skills are in their head or what they're thinking, and you're like, that's so funny. So I remember a lot of times in like New York, I was like, I'm not going to go up and try to write a joke. I'm just going to tell you about my day. And then I felt like that was more satisfying and then finding bits that way than trying to figure out like what setup punchline can I come up with now.
Yeah, I definitely started like one liners first and not way less conversational. We just had Kyle Kinane on here and he mentioned the same thing where he first like learned joke structure and it's kind of like learning the rules before you break them in a sense. So it's like,
Yeah.
but that's what I've learned in interviewing over 200 comics is like there's no one way. It's like everyone has their own unique way at the end of the day.
Yeah, I feel like a good example of someone that does that really well is Nate Bargatze. Like he doesn't really feel like he's giving you a setup punchline. All he's really doing is telling you what is going through his mind. And that's where the jokes come. And that's how I feel like where you find out who you are on stage is like just talk about the weird shit that's going through your mind or your obsessive thoughts. And I think people will relate to you or find it interesting.
Hot breath.